Hello, it's Cisvolk. Time to enjoy card making with me. For those who have a hard time listening to my English, notice that you can use the subtitles and read what I say to be able to understand it a bit better. CraftEmotions released new stamps designed by Carla Creaties. She drew a whole set of funny animals. There are 4 different stamp sets containing 11 different amazingly funny critters. And to go with them, Carla designed 3 different stencils. In this video I will use set number 1 and oh, aren't they funny! I also will use set number 3 and at the end show you some more cards I made so far. Now for everyone watching, I have good news, because I do a giveaway! 2 of you can win a stencil and a stamp, and to go with that I will send you one of my self-made cards. I bought the products myself and also will pay for the shipping worldwide. I'm very grateful to have you watch my videos and use my affiliate links. Keep attention during this video to get all the information you need and know exactly what to do to participate in this giveaway. First thing I ask from you is to click on the subscribe button below. And if you don't want to miss out on any new videos I make, then also ring the bell for notifications. If you already have subscribed to my channel and watch my videos frequently, welcome! I'm so glad that you are here again. Later in the video I will tell you 2 other things you need to do to submit to the giveaway. I store all my stamps in self-made laminated folders. They keep my stamps and images together. They also keep it clean and easy to store. They are photopolymer clear stamps, really sticky and very good quality. In the package I can also store images I colored and add masks I used. I will link to a video in the right corner of your screen so you can see how they are made. With this cute donkey I made my first card. And it turned out to be this card. Well, don't you love it? I really love him. The donkey looking around the corner here is colored with pencil on a plain envelope paper. And this donkey was also colored with pencil, but on CraftEmotions velvet cardstock. And for this super cool background I used this beautiful Hip Hip Hooray stencil. Now I'm going to show you how to make a card like this. And as a bonus, I will make a totally different card with the other stencil and stamps. These stencils can be held down to the paper with magnets. But since the magnets then will cover your surface, I decided to spray them with spray glue. There are different brands and this is the one I had at hand. But I guess all spray glues will work. What you do is you spray this glue on the back of the stencils. I already treated this one. You see, this one is sticky. And I didn't do this one yet. I will put the stencil in a box or in a paper bag and from a distance of 20 centimeters I spray some glue on top and wait a minute for it to dry. For the paper I used CraftEmotions velvet cardstock. For those who are interested, here's the product number. It is also the perfect paper for using the CraftEmotions stamp impressed dies. It is very smooth, soft and structured paper. I hope you can see the structure. It has a lot of texture and it feels very soft. It is 250 grams cardstock. The paper is in A4 size. To make a card out of it, I cut it in half at 14.8 centimeters. Then I score the paper at the most structured side of the paper. This is the smoothest side and this other side has more structure. I want that most structured side outside, so there I will make a crease line at 10.5 centimeters. I do both papers so I can make 2 cards. Then we will fold the paper over having the crease line at the outside. With a bone folder, you then can score the edge to the outside. I will show again with the other one. Here is the crease. Then I fold it this way, outside. Then you get the best seam without ruining your paper or getting cracks or torn pieces in the paper. This will be the base for our cards. I start with the Hip Hip Hooray stencil. I sprayed it with the glue spray on the back. I stick this stencil directly to the card base. Have it sit in the middle of the card and press on the stencil to stick it securely. I will be working with Nuvo embellishment mousse. It is the white one. The color is called Snowstorm. I add a piece of plastic between the jar and the lid to prevent drying. We only need a little bit. And I will be working with my fingers anyway, so I take a small lump out of it with my finger. Yes, my fingers will get dirty, but we can wash them. First I smear the mousse on my work mat to make it smooth and flatten the lumps. I then smear a tiny bit on the paper, just around the stencil. The Nuvo embellishment mousse is a little less white than the paper, so the text will be very subtle, but good enough to see, and because it has a little shimmer on it, the result will be gorgeous. Especially on this paper, the combination is very nice. This paper has a good structure to fill in the gaps with the mousse. I add a very thin layer, as thin as possible, but enough to be able to see. You see, I pick up bits of mousse up with my finger and smear with rotating movements along all the rims and edges of the stencil. I also try not to cover the edges of the paper, so there will be kind of a little border around this cloud I am making. Thick parts I quickly pick up. I also try not to smear too much mousse in the structure of the paper. This stuff is water-based. With a baby wipe or damp cloth, it is easy to clean your work mat. If you don't have a work mat, you can also use a saucer or a plate or even a clear block. Also, because the Nuvo embellishment mousse is water-based, you can add water and use that for splattering. You can also mix it with ink to get a new color. So yes, I can say I am really happy to have this stuff in my craft room. When everything is covered, you only have to wait for 1 or 2 minutes before it is dry. It dries very quickly. You see, I didn't even took the time to wash my hands. It is dry already. Now I use a needle to pick up the stencil and detach it very carefully from the paper. Look how awesome this is! Very subtle. Well, I now go to the tap to rinse the stencil with a sponge, leave it to dry to the air, and then it will still stick to the back for using on another card. The same velvet paper I will use for stamping and coloring. And again I stamp on the side with most structure, so not the smoothest side, which would be more obvious for stamping, but I use the bumpy side. I choose to stamp the turtle and the duck with a stamping platform. Also, stamping with just the clear block and VersaFine can be good enough, but I don't want to take any risks in getting a stamped impression that is not covered everywhere on this somewhat not so smooth bumpy paper. And using a stamping tool, I can stamp on the same place over and over again. The turtle has paws that are attached, so it is one stamp. For making the envelope, I later separated them from the head, just using scissors. It's no problem, you can stick them together again easily when stamping a new print. You will see why I did it later, when I show you the envelope. I like to use VersaFine ink for its very dark and sharp impressions. I used to use Memento Lux a lot before, That is also a very good ink, but this VersaFine has a sturdy ink pad and makes sharper impressions. Disadvantage is that VersaFine dries faster than Memento Luxe, so for heat embossing you need to be a bit quicker than with the Memento Luxe ink. Even with a bit extra pressure, the print is not sharp in one go. I have to ink the stamp up a few more times and stamp a few more times. That is because this paper is not smooth at all. So why do I then still use this paper? It is exactly because of the structure. This structure feels so smooth, it fits exactly with the soft animals I will be coloring. I dry the ink with a heat tool. I heat it up on both sides of the paper to prevent warping. Then I check with my finger if all ink is dry before coloring. It is not dry enough. Would I go to color now, I would get ugly smudges. So I must dry it some more. My stamp impression still isn't perfect. That is not a problem. I left my stamps inside the stamp tool, so I can stamp on top of the colored stamps again in the same place after coloring. I grabbed some pencils in the colors I need and also some blending tools. On a small scrap of the same paper I will be using, I will color to check the colors before I start coloring. Here I have colored a gradient now of 3 matching yellow colors to color the beak of the duck. I start coloring with the darkest color on the edges of the paper. Also, I like making circles with the pencil. Then I take the other pencil to color over the same spot. And then I use the lightest one to color the middle of the beak. Because I want this beak to look very glossy, I use lots of pigment and try to fill up lots of the grooves of the paper. Again, at the edges of the beak, I color again with a new layer of darker pencil. For those who would like to take part of my giveaway, please take notice that you listen carefully and follow all instructions given in this video. The second instruction for the giveaway is write in the comments that you want to participate and also which stencil you prefer, the Dutch HIP HIP HOORAY or the English HIP HIP HOORAY. You will have to log in to YouTube to be able to write a comment and also click on the first comment to open the section. The third instruction will follow later in the video. For the head of the duck, you see that I've chosen a somewhat bluish color to make a gradient with 2 shades of green. Using a blue and adding green on top always makes a very nice color. Again, start coloring along the sides and the parts that must be darker, like on the example Carla colored. Also, when you are coloring images, just look for a reference picture. I use Pinterest a lot for that. I save images of animals to use for their colors and also for the way their hair grows, and especially the places where shading is needed. Coloring for me is the hardest part in card making. You might don't believe it, but a few years ago I couldn't color like I do now. It is just a combination of practicing and using pencils that give better results, or just work good for you. I use Arteza Expert pencils, that are wax pencils. Unfortunately, you cannot buy them in the Netherlands. I won them myself in a giveaway and I'm happy that I got them. It changed my coloring a lot. Prismacolor Premier are even better pencils, as I heard, and have a similar effect. You should check on Sarah Renee Clark's channel to see and learn all about pencils. When I only colored with harsh pencils before as a kid, I didn't like coloring at all, because of the hard lines I got and the bad blending. Blending with softer pencils is so easy and gets to a better and natural result. From the Derwent Lightfast, I only have this light blue one that I use to color the shades in the eyes of the critters. This pencil is somewhat harder, but it works perfect to me for the things I need it for. As I said, I am not a coloring expert and I use what works for me now. I encourage you to try coloring yourself. You might surprise yourself and get better and better all the time. And let's be honest, coloring these funny critters makes us all happy, doesn't it? The next thing I'm going to do is blending. This water brush I have filled with some baby oil. I use this water brush to add some baby oil to the tip of a blending tool. In Dutch we call this a doezelaar. I could also put some oil onto a cotton swab and dip in the blending tool. Or I could use Gamsol, what is more common to use for blending. But since I don't have that, I use what works for me. I prefer to use the water brush because the brush fits into my box with pencils, whereas a jar with a swab would not fit in there. On a tissue I check if I don't have too much oil, because we don't want oil stains on the paper. And what we then do with the blending tool is just mix the colors. Smear it out and get all pigment into the fibers of the paper that don't have color yet. I hope you can see it well. The green I did blend and the yellow I did not blend. I start blending on the lightest parts of the image. We want the light parts to stay light and not smear darker shades of pigment on top of light parts. I again make swirling motions to cover all fibers of the paper. When I notice not much happens, I add some more oil to the blending tool and continue blending. Also for each color I use its own blending tool, as we don't want to mix colors. But I could clean them in between on a scrap paper if it is necessary. Also, I can still color some more on top if I want some more color or shading. I switch to another blending tool or the other side of the tool just because I like to have multiple blending tools for blending, so I don't need to clean them every time. And now I can start blending the orange beak of the duck. I color this beak thicker than the green fur. The blending is easier this way. There's more pigment on the paper. Now because of this, the effect looks more glossy. The paper gets more smooth. And this is just the effect we need for the beak. We need more dark at the edges. Therefore, I will add some brown. I could have started with some brown to begin with, but I always choose for the safest way, and that is start with the light and add darker colors on top. If the paper is not completely saturated with pigment, you can still add more color. Oh, now I see I almost forgot to color the tip of the beak black. I guess Carla designed the duck this way without the black tip in the stamp, so you can choose to also make a female duck or a white duck to your preference. But this green male duck needs a dark tip. I choose to make it dark brown. Now let's color the turtle. I searched the internet for pictures of turtles, so I have a reference to the colors I could use. Using Pinterest for this is a useful program. You can search and save, or say in this case pin, all pictures you need for inspiration or color scheme. I made a pin collection for myself with a few animals that are useful to keep next to my coloring. After making a gradient on my scrap, to see if these colors are what I'm looking for, I scribble a bit with each pencil partially on top of each other. Also, I would like the turtle to look very happy and cute. For that, I often choose to start by coloring the cheeks red or pink. When I start coloring very lightly, then I have an idea of how it could look like, and if I like it, I go darker and darker. Then I start by coloring the lightest parts, so I don't accidentally color them dark. And next I take a dark color to add the shading. It can be difficult to see where you have to add dark colors for shading. Mostly it is on the bottom or next to lines where parts have to pop up. The toes have to pop, so next to them we color it dark. Also the upper and lower lip have to pop, so around them we color dark. The tip of the nose has to pop towards you, so around that tip we color a bit darker. It is a serious thinking process. For the tongue, I also use more than one color to get depth. Coloring in one color will make it flat. The darkest color will go at the bottom. The two bulbs, we want them to pop. So we color them somewhat lighter. Teeth are white, but never really white. So I choose a color that matches it cream white. These yellow teeth don't appeal to me much. Same for the toes. Here I use the blue Derwent Light Fast pencil to draw a line in the eyes. Since this one is a little harder than my soft wax pencils, it is very easy to draw a nice crisp line that gives a shadow in the eyes. Here you see that even if you colored lightly, the blender tool will blend the color evenly, but lightly on the paper. To blend the edges, I take a small blending tool. I have Koh-i-Noor hard mud, and there are some smaller and also hard. That makes blending easy, and it is also easy to sharpen them again to get a new sharp point. You can sharpen them with some sanding paper or buy a special sanding block for the blenders. For bigger areas, I like the Brownzale paper blender. It is a bit softer though. I shall add links for all of them in the description below, might you be interested. Now I colored everything green. I'm sure that I chose the places for the red cheeks correctly. And know for sure that I can color them red. Although there is already a bit of red pencil on the paper, I take an already used paper blender with a bit of red on the tip. Using this will make a very light and soft cheek. I don't want the cheeks as dark as the tongue. For the toes and teeth, I clean the blender first to my scrap paper. I like them best when they are still somewhat white. I do color and blend only at the bottom and one edge of the toes. This is how it turned out so far. I could go on coloring more, but I stop here. I like it how it is now. Now we take the stamping platform again. We place the paper in the stamping platform in the same place we stamped the first time. And because I now want to stamp again and heat emboss the black lines, I treat the paper with talcum powder to have the embossing powder only stick to places where there is ink and not stick to fingerprints. I also hope to get the inside of the turtle's mouth more black by stamping again. The lines get more black now, but the mouth doesn't. That's a pity. It is because of this highly structured paper. No worries, we can still color that black with a black permanent marker. I hope I don't ruin my marker now. Maybe I should have waited the ink to dry before coloring. Again, I stamp a last time with the ink to also get ink in the dark spots. Now I spread some transparent embossing powder on top. This is Ranger clear embossing powder. And if I stamped it correct, it will stick to the parts I stamped. I do most of the heat setting on the back side of the paper, and that is because this paper is porous and bulgy. We don't want all that powder to sink into the paper. We want it still lying on top so we can feel and see a thin glossy line. By heating it from the back, my experience is that the result will be better. Also, don't heat it too long, you will lose the embossing effect. Next we cut the figures out. Just cut next to the black line and leave the black line intact. These CraftEmotions scissors are nice and sharp scissors. I can cut bigger parts with it, and they are also perfect for cutting tape because they don't stick. For cutting in detail and especially the hairs of the duck, I like to grab my older tiny scissors. So I like to use both scissors a lot. I'm used cutting with the smaller scissors. It works easier for me. Cut very slowly and keep the blade to the right of the line while turning the paper with your left hand. Mostly when I cut hairs, I first cut around them and snip out the openings between the hairs. Also, cutting hairs can be done with a cutting blade. This only works when you have tons of patience and want a perfect result. And I can't see much now because of the camera hanging in front of me, and I don't want my head inside, but you get the point. If still the edges are not nice or have white pieces, you can color these edges with a black marker. I now have a thick marker, but I also use a smaller one to get into the smaller edges. Only if I could find where it is. Coloring the edge of the paper is the perfect hack for covering up that you may not have cut nicely. And because that edge is now black, it stands out more on a white background. Now we need a sentiment for the cards. I kept the scraps for if I could use them for the sentiments. Because it is the same paper, it will fit very well on the card. Quack I will be using together with the duck. And for the turtle I will use That Old. Now I changed my mind about using the scraps. I want to die cut the sentiments. And for that the scraps were too small. So now I stick them on a clear block and stamp them with Versamark on a bigger sheet of paper. With these small sentiments I dare to take the risk stamping in one go with a clear block. I also treat this paper with anti-static powder before stamping. See that this print is very nice despite the bumpy paper? Having a text with embossing, it gives a more luxury look. And since I also embossed the lines of the animals, I better do it for the text as well. For the cards I want to use these funny text balloons. CraftEmotions has very cute small dies I can use with them. I would like to use this one. Oops, that one just doesn't fit. I should have stamped a little further away from the edge. Although, maybe it can be done anyway, let's see. This text balloon is also very nice. And for the text That Old I can use this small banner die. I want to have my stencil and the duck on the card positioned like this. So it would be nice if this stamp with the word quack fits on the card like this. So I will use the text with this die anyway. The splatters are loose anyway, so that doesn't matter. I can add them separately. I always find it very handy to be able to turn those little dies through my sidekick. What's nice about those loose balls is that you can stick them on in any position. You can also stick them upright. Then it's like he's holding something when you put something between the balls. Or, for example, for a card that opens and closes on the front. Then the paws are on the outside and the head inside. Or maybe the paws for his eyes. He can do funny things. So you see, you can't stop playing with it. Nah, you know what I mean. I'll just glue it like this. I'm going to stick the text strip on a lower level than the turtle. Therefore, I use a somewhat thinner foam tape for the text banner. It is 2 mm thick. And the head and paws I can glue with the 3 mm foam tape. If you like, you can bend the paws a bit and add a drop of glue at both ends to have a curved shape. I don't think it is necessary now. For gluing the sentiment, I check if it is in a place where I can cover up the text underneath, without making it unreadable. Also, the turtle is in a place where we don't miss the meaning of the text. We can guess the head of the turtle is in front of the O's. Now how nice is this? I love this card. Do you too? For the card with the duck, I will be using the Dutch stencil, HIP HOORAY. Also this one I made sticky on the back with some glue spray. It sticks very well to the paper if you press it down firmly. On this card I will be coloring the background with some distress oxide inks. When ink blending with oxide inks, my fingers always get dirty very quickly. And to prevent my paper from getting ugly with fingerprints, I protect my fingers and the paper with some purple tape. I start very lightly at the lower part of the card with the color Lucky Clover. Then I continue with the next color, and that is Twisted Citron. I speed this part up because I don't want to bore you looking at me blending all the time. Dip your ink tool first on a scrap, a plate or a glass mat before applying it to the paper. Next is the mustard seed. This blending foam still has enough ink in it, so I don't have to dip it in the ink. It contains so much ink that I even don't have to press hard on the sponge. Now I go back with the Twisted Citron again, the middle color, and blend the two outer colors together. In between, I check if the colors are to my liking. I missed something happening in this panel, so maybe this background needs some splatters to go with it. I will do some splattering at the bottom of this panel. By inking some Lucky Clover Distress Oxide on a clear block, I can easily use this ink for splattering. I spray a little water on the ink on a clear block and use the water brush to make splatters. I try to aim only towards the bottom of the panel, to place where there is already some green. Next I want to add some splattering with the Nuvo embellishment mousse. I put a tiny bit on my clear block. Next I use a clean and wet water brush to smear and mix it all out. I add a little extra water and then we can splatter this everywhere on the card. It gives a little shiny splattering on the panel. We'll let it dry like this. What I forgot to do for the turtle, I will now do for the duck, and that is adding some glimmer. I like to use the Nuvo Aqua Shimmer water brush for adding shimmer to my colored images. This is the glitter glaze color. It is mostly transparent with a silver glimmer. It is like a water brush, but it contains water with glimmer, and I add that on top of the coloring. If you are careful with the amount you add, you will avoid warping the paper if it gets too wet. Also be careful not to mix up different colors and ruin the colors. But if you do it right, and it is not difficult by the way, it gives amazing results. Have a look! It is still wet, but when dry it is very shimmery. I don't have the patience to wait much longer, so I dry the panel a little bit using my heat tool. Now I'm not sure if the stencil can withstand the heat, so I'm very careful drying the paper, and I also heat the inside of the paper to prevent warping. Not all splatters are completely dry, but dry enough. What also is useful is that by heating up this paper, the glue from the stencil loosened up a bit, so removing the stencil is very easy now. And we have to be very careful with the letter H, since this is only secured in a tiny corner of the stencil. The stencil is as awesome as the card panel. Too bad that we cannot reuse it, because the text would be in reverse if we would make a print with it. I want the text to stand out. Therefore I use a Stabilo fine liner. This one writes very good on inked or colored surfaces. With it I trace all lines of the text. I won't use the stencil to trace the lines. If I would do so, then the lines would not be on the edges, but just a bit next to the edges. Turning the paper and tracing straight lines every time makes tracing very easy. Now pay attention if you want to participate in the giveaway, because I now will give you the last instructions. I ask you to write in the comments what your favorite stamp set is that Carla Creaties designed. And also add the name Carla Creaties in your comment. So, for example, you write Carla Creaties Guinea Pigs or Carla Creaties Funny Animals, or whatever series is your favorite. You can check Carla Creaties' website to see all stamp sets she designed so far. Only those people who have followed all 3 conditions have a chance to compete for one of the stencils and one of the stamps and the card made by me. So there will be 2 winners, each with a stamp, a stencil and a card. Since this is a long video, I will wait till the end of the month of April before I announce the winners. So you will have enough time to watch the video and to respond. The duck we will stick to the panel using double-sided foam tape. Let's seek for a place where it doesn't overlap the text too much. Think out of the box with this. You can turn the head or even cut off the neck if it fits better. The neck can be cut off easily when you look at the back. The quack die cut is a bit bare to me. I outline it with a black marker to give it some more definition. The bigger blob I glue on raised with some foam squares. And the smaller droplets around it I glue flat. Also these smaller droplets I colored with a black marker around the edges. Holding them with tweezers makes it a lot easier. And now we can add some highlights with a white gel pen or Posca marker. Nah, is it nice or is it nice? I love it! Here again the first card I made. Off screen I made a matching envelope. I stamped this envelope with Versamark ink, then colored it in with pencil. Then blended again with the blending tool and then applied Nuvo aqua shimmer. I stamped the paws differently if you look closely. Here on the card I stamped the paws right next to each other, and on the envelope I stamped the paws crooked at the edge. On the example the turtle is also shown with straight paws, and on the stamp it is exactly the same way. And there the paws on the stamp are attached to the head. What I did, I cut the paws loose with scissors, so you can easily stamp the paws where you want them. And then if you want them back in their original place where you stamp, you can very easily put them back together the right way. See, that fits very well back in place. You may think it's a shame to waste the stamp, but it does give you a lot more possibilities this way. Well, so that was this card with the Hip Hooray stencil and the embellishment mousse. I made this card again, also with the embellishment mousse, but using the donkey stamp. This card is made with the same technique. Same background, same stencil, but just adding the donkey. Isn't it adorable? If you only cover the O, it is understandable that it says hooray. I also colored the cheeks red and had the donkey peep around the corner of the paper on the envelope by only stamping half of its head. Awesome! I can never get enough of it. With this amazing furry potato, this cute guinea pig, I also made a card. And this guinea pig is so fun to combine with the other animals. The guinea pig on this envelope I colored with pencil. For this card, I first blended a panel with distress oxide on CraftEmotions watercolor cardstock. On that I splattered with blue oxide ink and also with white embellishment mousse. On top of that, after it was dry, I adhered the stencil. Then with my finger I applied a thin layer of Nuvo embellishment mousse in the same white color. And then you get this result. The text is again heat embossed and stuck on with a slightly thinner foam tape than the guinea pig, so that the guinea pig stands out. Then I want to show you, you can also put a cute guinea pig on top of another animal's head very easily. By stamping the head of, say, the horse or the donkey on masking tape, and then cutting it out and sticking it on the stamped head of the large animal, you can stamp the guinea pig on top of it, so that it looks like it is sitting on it. I did that with the horse, and then you get this. I colored these with Tombow ABT Pro alcohol markers on color card paper from CraftEmotions. I made a short where you can see how to mask the guinea pig on the head of the giraffe. I will link the video in the top right corner and also in the descriptions below. Then for this card I made a matching envelope as well. I stamped the duck on the corner of the envelope, right over the edge with his beak, making him look naughty. He's also colored in with pencil. Now I will show you pictures of some of the cards that I've made so far with these funny animals. I just can't get enough of them, as you can see. Keep an eye on my social media channels for more examples and ideas. Remember to meet all 3 requirements if you want to participate in the giveaway. If you would like to see more ideas about making cards using carlacreaties stamps, I encourage you to watch an earlier video of mine. The link for this is in the description. You will also find links to most of the products I used in the description. The links will redirect you to Hobbyshop-Online, where I gain a few cents commission. Using these links won't cost you anything extra, so if you want to support me, please use them. I am very grateful for that. I know the text on their website is in Dutch, but despite that they ship to other countries beside England and USA because of the high shipping costs. I know other countries more and more start to discover these lovely stamps, and I am very grateful for that. You can ask your local hobby shop to take them in their collection if they don't sell them yet. For USA, I know Top Flight Stamps have a small collection of carlacreaties stamps. I hope you appreciate all inspiration and card making tips I share with you, and will benefit a lot from my ideas and tips and tricks. I myself enjoyed working with these text stencils and funny stamps a lot. Which card do you like best? You can get an even better look at all the cards on my Facebook and Instagram channel, where I post photos of them. And did you know I have a huge Pinterest collection with all my handmade cards? There's also a special selection for all carlacreaties designs I made for CraftEmotions. You can save these pins and use for inspiration. Thank you for watching this video till the end. Go watch some other videos I made. And if you have seen them all, I hope to see you next week in a new video. And don't forget about the giveaway. I will respond to the winners in the comments below this video at the end of the month. I then ask you to email me your address so I can send you the products and a handmade card. Have a nice crafty day and enjoy card making. Bye bye!